All right. Next, I'm gonna speak a little bit about Claude Cowork. Now, can I get a bit of a sentiment? Who has used Claude Cowork? All right. I might be boring you. All right. So, are you guys using it every day? Those that do every day? And all right. Every couple of days or so? Okay. And just like once a week or once a month? All right. But so for those that sat in the front, you didn't see the vote essentially. But yeah, Claude Cowork is a big thing, or it's used a lot. And I was talking to you before, even in businesses, like it is getting used. And for those few that are not yet using it, if you have a Claude subscription, I definitely recommend that you guys go and have a look at it and see what is it about. So I'm gonna probably keep this a little shorter, but you have there's a couple of new things in there that I wanted to highlight as well. So if you haven't updated your Claude desktop in a while, one thing that you might have seen, it used to be that you switch between chat, Cowork, and code at the top here. This is now over on your right-hand side. Another thing that you might not have found out yet, especially if you're on Windows, that has been released not too long ago. If you go in here, go desktop app. You can actually now enable computer use. So the Claude can now use your computer. So you're not just limited to using the web browser with a Chrome plugin, but you can actually get it to use your computer and like go to applications that might be proprietary, that might not work in a browser. So you can start it right there. Or you have a particularly nasty Windows issue that you can't fix. So hey, Claude, just go and fix this Windows issue. Go and find it. Go through Windows. Obviously, do this with a bit of care, because it can go and to your drive and say format, and then everything's gone. Right. So hasn't happened to me, but I haven't heard anyone that happened. But like this is a thing. And with Cowork and with things like computer use and Claude Code, especially if you're on Windows, be a little mindful around directories with spaces. And a lot of Windows directories have spaces, but spaces and directories are tricky for developers and are tricky for Claude Code. And I'm not going to bore you with the technicalities, but just be a bit aware. If you have a choice, choose a directory to work in that does not have spaces. Make things a bit safer. Cool. So if you never opened Cowork, this is how Cowork looks. The one thing that a lot of people get tripped up before, when you just use chat, you essentially you live in the chat and you want to work on a file. You just drag the file into Claude Code or into Claude, into the chat. With Cowork, the first thing that you do really is work in a project or work in a folder. So you really go into your drive, and famous problems with demos. It doesn't load the drives properly, but we can go in here, say Cowork. So now I can say, okay, everything that I'm going to be doing should be in this April 30th folder. And for those that come from a Claude Code background or have used Claude Code, the interesting thing is that you can create a Claude.md file. So a Claude.md is instructions. So what is this folder or this project about? Now, I didn't create one for this one, but if I go... So if I go in here, which is the base of this of this project, if I if I go into Claude.md, this is all about the Claude community, and then I go into sorry, that's where we are. Context. Open this instructions, right? So this is the instructions for this specific folder. And Claude, when I start a new chat in this project or in this folder, Claude will read this. So if Claude does always something weird that you don't want, go into here, go into the instructions in this folder and say, Claude, don't do this. Like, do it this way. Here is a good example. So if you have a project that contains all your LinkedIn posts, and like, hey, this is a good post and this is a bad post. Don't put all those emojis in. I'm more than 13. Like, go and put that in your Claude.md. And the important thing that is, the important thing about that is as well, this is hierarchical. So if you have a subfolder, you can create a Claude.md in the subfolder. So you can have one folder, my company, and then you can have with some instructions and information about your company. And you can have a finances folder, and then in there you have another Claude.md that contains information about the finances. You can have advertising, and then that's there. There you have references to the design language or to the advertising language that you use. So really, like, make use of these Claude.md files in the folders that you build. Now, another thing that recently been added is live artifacts, and this is the artifact, or this is the project where I built one of these artifacts, and I can show you kind of what I built or how I built it, but I want to open it, and ta-da, there's an error. Tool call failed. How do we fix problems? We restart. So this was meant to... Nope. So what I did here was I created the connector, and I created an MCP server. Essentially, I created my own connector that is simulating an e-commerce store to give you guys some demos or some ideas. Yeah, okay, doesn't work. So the idea about this, regularly, if you go into Claude and build something, go and say, hey, build a dashboard for me. Those dashboards are static, right? They don't update unless you go and tell Claude, hey, go and update it. Let's see. But what we really want is something that goes and pulls data. So in this case, I used an MCP server or connector. For those that are new to this world, a connector in Claude can connect you to a lot of different data sources. So it can connect you to Gmail, it can connect you to Drive, it can connect you to your own database, your own application, if you have if somebody built an MCP for you. So I was talking to somebody from some investment company recently, and they're like, hey, we have our own MCP servers that use our database, or we have our own service that provides information to Claude. This is an MCP server, and now we can integrate that into Claude Desktop and into Cowork to create things for us in here. Oh, there we go. With the magic of Claude. So a connector can be essentially do anything talk to anything that has an API. If you don't know what this means, come and talk to me. This is how we talk, how IT infrastructure talks to each other, and it's fairly easy to create an MCP for your own business. And what this MCP does here is just a simulated e-commerce store. So every 5 seconds or so, there is a random article being bought or something happening in there. So if I go to auto refresh, hopefully we see the revenue go up. Again, this is simulated data, maybe not so much fun, but you can see how you could use this for trading, right? We could combine that with Sheldon and have, hey, here is a ticker of symbols that you want, and we go and look at that. How did I build this? If we scroll all the way up, I was like, hey, I want to create a live artifact demo, create a Python MCP server that returns some synthetic data. And then this can, for example, this can simulate an e-commerce store. It asked me some questions. It created a bunch of files. I can go into the folder, right? So sources, this is something else. This is the MCP server that makes up the data. It told me how to integrate that. This is running all on my machine. I couldn't really give that to someone else, but that was good enough for the demo. And then I had to fight a lot with Claude to get everything sorted out. But and in the end, this is where you're getting at. There we go. So the live artifacts really is the next level, and you can also do things like you can also then go and say, hey, here is something that I want you to do. And for example, I said, hey, go and look at that other project that we had. We built this MCP and we built the front end. And now go and build a routine, or go and build something on top of that. So in this case, give me an overview of what happened in the last 20 minutes in my online store, virtual online store, and it can send a DM. I went on and said, turn this into a skill. A skill is essentially an encapsulated bit of prompt. So this is the prompt. And what I wrote, and we can encapsulate that and give it back to Claude and say, hey, put that in your store of things, and then it doesn't have to figure out everything every time. There was a little bit of a downtime at Anthropic today, so in the end, importing the skill didn't work. But I can probably just say, run the pulse and. So now it should go. It should collect the data, and then what I expect is that it is running, calling to the Slack connector. Yes, always. This is always why demos with LLMs are the worst, because you're just waiting there, waiting, and have to talk about. But anyway, so while this is running, so. The Slack connector is another thing. I could, for example, go and say, hey, create a scheduled routine every morning. Give me an update of what happened in the customer support channel, right? If you're the boss, you want to know what happened, what are the important things that worked or didn't work. So you can go and create a schedule. When you go schedule, name, a description, and then really the prompt, it can work in one of those projects, and you can say, run it hourly, daily, weekdays, weekly, and it goes back and does the same things again. Another part that you might want to look into, if you haven't, there is the dispatch function. And dispatch is, if you have been working with or looking at OpenClaw or ZeroClaw, or how they all are called, then this is kind of the closest thing that you can get. This connects through the Anthropic server to your phone, or rather the other way around. So the phone connects to the dispatch. So I have Claude app on my phone. If I go in here, I can go to dispatch, and I don't know what the last thing is. All right. Tell us a joke. Not very well, but so you saw the message come up, and it's doing something. It's, why did the AI go to therapy? It had too many open tabs and couldn't stop overthinking. All right. But obviously that's not the main purpose, right? But if you're out and about, you can be on your phone, and you can give your computer that's sitting on your desk a command. It has access to whatever you have connected to it, so Slack or the browser or other things. Quick thing for that: your computer has to be on. It has to not go to sleep. So keep awake, and allow, if you want to use the browser, you can say, yeah, do that. And so if you have a laptop, if you close it and put it in your bag, that's not going to work, right? So this is more for people that have a desktop, one of those old things, or a Mac Mini, sitting on their desk, always on. So I have another computer that is always on, where dispatch is usually connected to, because I carry my laptop with me and it's turned off. Cool. There is loads more. There is plugins, skills, and connectors, where you can connect your own apps. If you haven't looked at this, go and try it out. Connect it to something. Connect it to your Gmail and say, hey, give me a review of all of the what you think is important from the last 24 hours. You can set it up so that at 5 in the morning, it creates an overview, sends it via Slack, or put it in your chat here in Claude, and you can go and look at those things. This is only scratching the surface. There's lots more that we can do with this, but if you haven't used Cowork, then go and look at that. Quick intermediate question: how are we with pizzas? They're here. All right. So I think I can smell them. Now that makes sense. All right. Do we have questions to Cowork, or do you just want to go for pizza? All right. Let's do a couple of questions.
Hello. So where is the message chat history for Cowork? Because when I go on my phone and I can't see the history that's on my computer, it's kind of disturbing.
Yeah, dispatch doesn't do history. Dispatch is its specific own channel within Cowork, and you have access to the dispatch message history, but it's not in a way where you can like go and see all the other chats.
Okay, and the messages don't live in the folder where I'm working in?
No, as far as I know, yeah, you can you?
It's okay. I can just
Yeah,
ask
yeah.
Claude.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think it does directly connect, but it can access the computer and can access go and look at files. Yeah.
Cool.
Thank you. Quick question. It's more of one of the challenges I have is normally when you start with Claude Desktop, you start with the chat. You may create a project. You have a chat going on. You might create some artifacts, and once you're ready to hand it over to Claude Code or anything to do with your local machine, that's where you need to move to Cowork. And then I always find that handoff is bit buggy in the sense like when you start Cowork, you don't have the full chat history for Cowork to go and work something. Or is there a way you found that you can hand over your entire project in your chat to a Cowork and go, this is the whole thing I've been working so far. Go do some research or something.
Yeah, there's not really a handoff at the moment where you can go from chat to Cowork. Essentially, what we need to rethink the way we work a little bit. If you're doing kind of knowledge work, you're ideating. That's probably something you want to do in chat. And if you wanted to go and create documents, if you wanted to edit stuff, then that's when you want to have it moved to Cowork. What helps for me is you go into chat and say, hey, chat, create a markdown file with all the context, right? Everything that we've talked about that might be important because I'm going to move this over to Cowork and I want to transfer the context. And then you look at the MD file, look at if there's anything missing, update it, and then otherwise you put that in a folder, open Cowork.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Grazie. Thank you.
Grazie. Welcome to the German lesson.
So I had one observation, one question. So the observation just on the dispatch thing. So been deep in the guts with that, and just for reference, like dispatch doesn't work very well, but if you do remote from your home server, then you can get it to, and then so you do /remote, and then that way you can actually send commands via Claude Code if you load it on the Chrome session on your mobile. But like any other way with dispatch tool, it doesn't seem to be completely working out for me so far. So maybe that's just an observation from my personal experience. And then second question, what's in your soul.md, Dominic? Yeah. No, I'm joking. What's your home setup? I'm genuinely curious about you said you had a Mac server running, or how do you communicate? What's your rig, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah. So I'll take that one. What I have at home, you're gonna grab that. What I have at home is I have a desktop, which actually runs Windows with WSL, Windows Subsystem for Linux. That's where kind of I do most of my work. But then I also have it's not a Mac Mini, it's a GMKTech, whatever, lots of RAM, an LLM capable machine. It's a pretty powerful machine sitting in my home, and I'm running a ZeroTier network. So this is a kind of a VPN. You might have heard of Tailscale or WireGuard, same. So right now I'm connected to a virtual LAN, and so I can actually SSH into my machine at home or into my powerful developer machine. So if I'm opening VS Code, I'm 90% just straight going to my server at home, and all the development happens on there. So on there, I'm starting Claude Code, and then what you were, I think, alluding to was enabling the remote control. If you're in Claude Code, you can go /RC or remote control, and then it's sharing this version, this instance. So usually I have a TMux version, TMux running with a base Claude code, and then I can actually access that from anywhere else that I'm logged into my Claude desktop. So if I go over to Claude, yeah, they're probably currently not connected, but I can then see them here as remote connections on my machine. So I can go SSH, connect to host, that one. Again, demo, gods be with me. So go in here. This is my own alias, Claudiolo, -- dangerously skip permissions. And so if I now go and say RC Claudians, it's opening a Claudians, it opens a remote control. And for those that paid attention, in the background, there a new thing appeared. And so now I'm connected to here. So what is the DB? And so you can actually see it in the remote control. And bless you. If I will close that VS Code, then the SSH connection dies and everything goes to sleep. So that's why I use TMux, because TMux can keep things alive. This going a bit technical, but essentially I usually have things running like this as well at home, so I can access pretty much anything from my phone. And this is in the desktop app, but also on the phone, on the Claude app, you see those same connections. Cool. That was very long-winded.
Sorry, just got a question. So the Cowork, if I understand it, it's so then you can work with Claude to co-create or co-design. It's not like you can use Cowork and show it like Netflix and share your code with family members. Like it's not like that, or?
Sorry. So if you can share what Cowork
so
is
from what you
creating?
showed there, Cowork is using your own local machine and your own local folder.
Yeah.
But you can't share that local folder with other people using Cowork, or the Cowork is actually Cowork on the local machine.
Yeah. Yes,
Is that right?
it is on the local machine. So if you're looking at that for a team, you probably want to have things connected to a network drive so that other people can access that network drive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or like GitHub or something, and they pull it from GitHub.
I mean, that would be one way, but if you're literally in a network in a company, then you usually have like a file server. So you could put things on the file server, and then it would be accessible for others.
Gotcha.
No.
Thank you.
All right. One more question over here.
Hi. What would you say is the difference between Claude Cowork and Claude Code, and how would you advise someone who's deciding whether to use one or the other?
Claude Cowork is built on top of Claude Code underneath. So it has about the same capabilities, but it is abstracting a lot of that away from users. So you saw me before, or you saw the chat before where it said, hey, build an MCP server in Python. I never saw the code. I never looked at the code. So if I still need to know what to ask for. That's still, in a way, a problem. We're not quite as far, but I don't have to look at that. It's all handled by Cowork. And so everything essentially that Claude Code can do, build, Cowork can also build for you. When to use one or the other, it depends on your expertise, right? If you're familiar around code, around Claude Code, then you might as well want to use Claude Code and have all the possibilities and all the access. Otherwise, you can use Cowork. So Cowork is more for people that are proficient around their computer, but not a coder. Cool. We have one over there. It's coming.
Thank you. I had a couple of questions. The first one is about the computer use. I'm not too clear on exactly what are the functionality, but I'd be interested to have your view on this. And I guess the second one is around the artifacts. And well, you just mentioned, for example, the MCP created in Python. So is that created on the fly, or is it actually stored somewhere? And I'm saying this because with the artifact, for example, it does regenerate the artifacts every time, so it uses a lot of tokens. And I find also the other bias with this is that every time it generates the artifacts, it reinterprets potentially what you're asking for. So it might be slightly different all the time. So what I've been doing is building that into skills with the actual Python, with the actual code underlying it, rather than regenerating the LLM via the LLM, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so if you use Claude Cowork, you can tell it, hey, create a Python script or a script in a programming language, and then it lives on your folder or in your folder, and you can tell it, hey, go and execute it, rather than building it every time from scratch. So it's not going to build the artifact every time again and again, and especially with the live artifacts here, that's one of the points that you can actually create something that is just running, and it's not recreated the same thing over and again. Sorry, what was the other question?
The other one was about the computer usage.
Oh, yeah. Computer use, to be honest, I haven't used that extensively. I've been playing around with it, but essentially it allows Claude to like control your mouse and your keyboard, and it takes a screenshot, it analyzes the screenshot, it does go and click somewhere, move the mouse over there, click somewhere. That uses definitely a lot of tokens because it does the image analysis.
Because it actually can interface with the computer as a human being would do it. Yeah. Interesting. Thank you.
Cool. All right. I think we're going to do pizza before they get too cold, and we can do some more Q&A at the end if you guys have more questions. Thank you so much.